part 3 of surviving childhood trauma. We were talking about what my dad's girlfriend like put me through, and we can still talk about that because it really goes on and on. But I want to talk about like what my dad, my own father, has put me through. Just like some of the things that he's done. I said how he like beat me up because I left his chain at his dad's house. Um, there is like an instance like so I lived with him as I said in part 2. I didn't have a choice at all. My mom just was like, going through something and I had to go over there. And I was just enduring a whole lot of crap. And one day I was like crying because he was like just being so mean to me, like just mean. And I was crying and I was like, I want to go with my mom. I'm only 12. And he mocked me. He's like, I want to go with my mom. Like stuff like that. Like, yeah, so he's done that. There were times where he would not let me call my mom. I don't know why. I mean, I feel like I know why. Just, put me through it. I know that they were getting like child support for me, so I feel like it's like he didn't care. Like, oh my, I don't want my daughter leaving. It's like, no, I don't want my check to leave. That's what I feel. Um, yeah, he would not let me call my mom. He wouldn't let me visit my mom. And speaking of visiting my mom, my grandfather's a pastor, so like if whenever I did call my mom, it was because like it was probably like after church, I would go in my grandpa's office and be like, can I call my mom, or whatever, and of course he would let me because my grandfather is like my heart. Both of my grandfathers, they are my hearts, but my dad's dad, you know, he knew what was going on and he would help me to the best of his ability. So I called my mom and she's like, okay, I'm gonna come visit you. I'm gonna come visit you. I'm come do your hair. As my mom did my hair. Like all my life, she was a hairstylist and she did my hair. And so she was like, I'm gonna do your hair. And so I asked her. I said, should I tell my dad that you're coming to pick me up? Cause I'm so scared to cross him. But I know if I tell him, he's not gonna let me go to school. Cause she's on my emergency list and she could take me out, but like I knew that if I told this man that my mom was coming, he was not gonna let me go to school. So I didn't tell her. I didn't tell him, and so yes. So my mom, comes pick me up from school. She takes me shopping. She does my hair. And we're at my aunt's house, my dad's sister. The lovely, lovely woman. Yeah, so it comes to it and and they my mom and my dad get into it or whatever and I'm just like gosh, like I already knew I was gonna get in some kind of trouble. I didn't know what it was gonna be, but it didn't feel normal. Like I felt like I betrayed him. Like how am I betraying him because my mom came to help me to come do my hair to see me. I haven't seen my mom in a year. You guys have been doing nothing but mistreating me, making me feel like I don't belong. Like how am I betraying you? But whatever. So when I did come back it was around the same time that my grandfather, my other great grandfather, my grandmother's father, he passed away. So we had to go to a funeral soon. So my dad, it was like he waited a couple of days. I don't know. He was like trying to see what kind of punishment he wanted to give me. But he waited a couple of days and literally like out like the night before the funeral, literally hours before the funeral, he comes in the room and he's like, it's time for you to get in trouble for what you did. I'm like, what I did? He was like, you didn't tell me that she was going to your mom's house, or you didn't tell me your mom was coming to pick you up. And I was like, she told me not to tell you. And I'm okay. Well, in my head, I'm like, dang, like, which parent? One says it, like it was just too much. It's too much for I think I was 12, almost 13 at the time. So he literally grabs the end of a belt, the buckle. So he's not hitting me with what you would hit your child with, like the belt part. He's hitting me with the buckle. Grab the buckle up, the belt upside down. So now the buckle is the one that's hitting, and he just went like every which way, but loose. And I'm like, no, don't hit me. I'm like, I love you, whatever. And he's like, I love you too. That's why I have to do this. I'm like, so because you didn't know my mom was coming to pick me up, you have to beat me like this, but whatever. Yeah, so literally, like right after that, like I'm like I can't see, like my eye, it was my right eye, it was just like messed up, and I lay down, whatever, like go to sleep because that was just too much for me. Wake up like really early because, like I said, it was a funeral. Eye was huge, black eye, shut eye, like horrible, crazy. It was so bad that even my dad's girlfriend, she didn't really like me like that. It was like times where, like I didn't know what today was gonna bring. Some days it's like, she don't like me. She's like doing funny stuff, whatever. Days where she don't really talk to me, Then there's days where she does. It's like gaslighting or like, I don't know. It was just not normal. Yeah, so it was so bad. My eye was so bad that even she was like, this is crazy. I did end up still going to the funeral. Even I would have tried to go either way because, like, the funeral, you're going to be surrounded by family. I need to be around somebody that I feel loves me, because I didn't feel loved at that point. I was just like, this is crazy. I did end up going to the funeral. All the adults in my family were like scared of how I looked, upset at my dad or whatever. And I already had it set out. I was like, okay, I'm not coming back, like with them. I knew eventually I would have to, but that day, no, I didn't want to. So I was like, okay, I was like stuck to my grandmother, whose father's, it was her father's funeral. I was like stuck to her side. And then she was very upset. It was a lot of emotions for her that day. It was her dad's funeral. Her granddaughter's eyes looking just huge. My other great grandmother, who my grandfather's mom, she was like telling her son, which is my grandfather, my dad's dad, she was like, her eye, this is crazy, and my grandfather was upset. And then, I was, like I said, I was with my grandma for all day, like the whole funeral. And when it was time to go home, she was like, you want to come with me? I was so scared. Like, I kind of want to cry. Like, I was so scared. Like, I was like, I'm going to go home, because, like, I don't want to get in trouble like that again. And, she was like, no. She was like, no more whoopings, Maje. She was like, no more. I'm going to tell him, like, And I was like, no, like, I was like, you could tell him that, whatever, in my head, but I'm just like, I'm going back, because I don't want that to happen. Like, like, who's going to save me? Like, that's my dad at the end of the day. Like, legally, that's my dad. And then like, I didn't want to call, like, CPS, like, and actually I did, like, one time I did, because it was just so much, and my dad has, like, a lot of charm, and whoever that social worker is, you need your license revoked, because my dad has charm. Like, my dad is handsome, my dad is charming, and he used that, and that social worker literally, like, was like, oh, no problem here, she was more so ready to talk to him than me, so that didn't work. But I knew I wasn't going to do that again, because I didn't want my siblings to go through, the social workers. So my grandma was like, you want to go home, you want to go with me? And I'm like, no, I gotta go back. So we get to the house, and she comes back. She was like, I don't want to say my dad's name. If you know, no. If you don't, you don't. She was like, no more weapons. You can't be putting your hands on her. Whatever. He didn't care. It was just like, you don't tell me what to do, with my kids, in my house, whatever. And I feel like, okay, so after that, he didn't say nothing to me. He didn't do nothing. He didn't even apologize. It was just like, you knew to come back. That's the vibe it gave. Yeah, I didn't really think I was gonna cry. I'm so sorry, you guys. I didn't think I was gonna cry, but like it's just bringing back like like emotions. They did me wrong, y'all. They did me wrong, but I'm running out of time and do a birthday.